Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to a very special episode of the Erin Molan Show. This is a bonus for you, back to regular programming tomorrow, but I wanted to bring you as soon as possible a conversation I've just had with the son of Hamas, as they call him, Mosab Assan. So much jubilation, particularly in Israel, but around the world, with decent, peace-loving people about the imminent return of the hostages. This is, without a doubt, the most phenomenal news, what we have been fighting for and praying for so long. But at what cost? And what happens next? Is this a peace deal? Is peace possible? We are already seeing so many examples in regions in Gaza where the IDF has moved out, where Hamas are killing innocents, killing other members of other groups, executing them right in the street, trying to rebrand themselves as this kind of Gaza Security Council. It's the same old Hamas. Nobody knows them better than the man whose father founded the terrorist organization. So I wanted his reaction to Trump's peace plan and what he thinks will happen. And I hate to say this, but this will not fill you with any confidence whatsoever, but you must watch and listen, and you must be aware. And I hope those in power also give a lot of weight to what this man is saying, because he knows. He knows. Mosab, thank you so very much for joining me, particularly given everything that is going on in the world right now. I know you're very busy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
The peace deal, is it a peace deal, Mosab, or is this anything but?
Peace, this is a very big term. You know, they are already talking about peace. This is just, at best, I would say, a ceasefire. And according to Hamas books, this is only a truce. They cannot make peace with Jews. They cannot make peace with Israel. This is their ideology does not allow them to sign a deal with Israel. If Hamas ideology agreed to making peace with Israel, there would be peace long time ago. This is the main obstacle in front of Hamas Shura Council. It's the religion. It's the Quran. It's the Islamic ideology. So at best, Hamas can have truce with Israel for 10 to 15 years. This is what the Islamic law allows them to have with kuffar, with basically infidels, non-Muslims in a state of war. The most they could do, what Muhammad did back in the day with the Meccans, it was a truce, 15 years maximum, and they are willing to renew it, but they can never call it peace. They don't make peace with their enemies.
Hostages come back. We all hope and pray that that part of this deal eventuates. But after that, you predict it will just be a free-for-all. You've gone through a theory where you essentially go through the different steps that will occur in Gaza post that part of this deal. Can you take my audience through what you think will happen? And is this part of Trump and potentially Netanyahu's plan?
Well, I don't think that they have a plan, but this is the reality on the ground. And I think President Trump is not familiar very well with the Middle East, not even the American administration. I think they are missing the point, and they think that they can just force peace on Gaza, or they think it's easy to just rebuild Gaza, or they think it's simple to demilitarize and de-radicalize Hamas and other militias in Gaza. This, I don't see it happening in any foreseeable time frame. It's actually very naive to think that way. So when I created my theory, is basically I'm foreseeing the obstacles that the world leaders are going to face eventually. They will wake up on a reality where Hamas cannot disarm. Hamas prefers to die and sink the boat with everybody on it before they disarm. Not because only they want their arms to fight Israel. They need their arms to defend themselves from retaliation from other Palestinian groups, which basically they have a long history, a bloody history with other militias. So I don't expect from Hamas to just drop their guns where other Palestinians are going to kill them. So basically, President Trump put almost an impossible condition on Hamas. So what's the alternative if Hamas does not meet with these conditions? Then there is another obstacle, the rubble of Gaza. In order to remove this, and I spoke to experts, it would take from 5 to 10 years to just remove the rubble, and there is no place to take it anyway. Usually countries would buy such thing, recycle it. But in Gaza situation, it's very complicated that Israel is not willing to buy this rubble, for example. Egypt is not willing to buy it. So where to remove it? Where to put it? Just throw it in the Mediterranean Sea? So there are so many logistical problems in the way and cultural problem, and it looks like there's so many barriers in the understanding. So it's either this is a trap that Trump is setting for Hamas, or Hamas trapped themselves because they have no other choice.
We're already seeing in areas where the IDF is moving out, Hamas executing either civilians, other members of militia, other fighting groups. This will be catastrophic. They're already rebranding themselves as the Gaza security guards or something like that. It's just Hamas by another name.
Yeah, well, this is their game. Hamas can change names every day. This is how the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood, but they needed a new name, a new front. And every day they just can change to a new political party that they support. And the world would believe that Hamas is out of the governing. They know how to play the game, and the world is desperate for just ending the tragedy that Hamas created in Gaza by striking deals with Hamas, which does not make sense at all. And let's say if this deal stands, let's say if it will hold its ground and President Trump will be able to attend the conference and raise the funds to rebuild Gaza, that means we are back to the first square, and all the suffering and the tragedy of Gaza and the massacre of October 7 and the release of so many terrorists and the suffering of the hostages and all this global chaos went just in vain, and we are going to go back to the point of October 6, where Hamas is still in control of the fate of 2 million Palestinians, where they can create as many victims as they want.
It sounds to me like the only option here for any kind of enduring peace in the Middle East, not just for Israelis, but for children born into Gaza, who you say are innocent. The only innocents in Gaza, the only people you can't suspect of terrorism are the children. Hamas must be destroyed, but how do you do that? Because this doesn't seem to be the way.
Look, Gaza is a breeding ground. This is what Gaza is all about. The UNRWA, funded by Arab oil money for almost 50 years and more, they kept the refugee status. This refugee status created the reality of Gaza. The reality of Gaza is one of the most brutal realities in the world. Poverty, despair. It's the breeding ground for all extreme movements or groups funded by Iran or funded even by Russia, funded by China. Anybody can just jump on the wave of human tragedy. Take, for example, when Gazans were allowed at some point to come to our town, which I'm from the West Bank, it's about 100 miles away. I never been to Gaza prior to the October 7 war. But when the Gazans came to our town, which is a Christian town, within weeks, we start hearing for the first time in our town rape stories, violence, looting, all type of chaos. The people of Ramallah, the people of the West Bank simply said, we don't want Gazans coming here at all. And we kicked them out. And the Palestinian Authority did not allow Gazans to come. What I saw on October 7 was not just a surprise for me. I know the nature when people live in despair like this, and this is not Israel's fault. It's the fault of the United Nations that kept people in darkness and kept and gave the advantage to so many terrorist entities, especially the Islamic Republic of Iran, to take advantage of such despair and to keep Israel on the edge and to keep this breeding ground to manufacture terrorism and violence. So, and they succeeded somehow. And now everybody, including the United Nations, blame Israel instead of saying it was our fault to keep the UNRWA and keeping the refugee status for 5 generations, where we created a situation where 20 people are sleeping in the same room with no hope, drowning in despair and poverty, while the Hamas leaders in Doha became billionaires, and the Palestinian Authority leaders also became billionaires, taking advantage and exploiting the tragedy of Gaza. And today we are in the same position, where the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer, and everybody would expect that peace is going to happen on its own. This is why I said from the beginning, and especially after October 7, I would never even consider the option that after October 7 and what we saw, that we must end the breeding ground, evacuate everybody. This is a humanitarian evacuation. Then after that, burn the nest. This is the correct strategy. President Trump understands this. And this is why from the beginning, when he came to office, he said that I want to relocate the entire population of Gaza. It's not because he wanted to take revenge from the Gazans, because he wanted to end the breeding ground. Now, things got complicated as he advanced in his government and in his presidency, because the world is not as simple as that. And now the Arab oil money is trying to basically influence the American foreign policy. And this is their financial jihad. This is what they've been demonstrating. And I am afraid that if President Trump would try to please everybody, the Saudi Arabians, the Palestinians, the Israelis, the Americans, the Republicans, the mob on the street, then he may fail to bring peace to the Middle East, and his administration may eventually fail. So this is very, very dangerous gamble. And I think humanitarian evacuation, of course, many are going to come and accuse anybody who's involved, including myself, of ethnic cleansing against the Palestinians. But I don't care about their opinion. We cannot allow this situation to go for eternity. Enough is enough. October 7 was the countdown for Gaza. And if it wasn't for the global outrage that did not want to acknowledge the use of human shields and acknowledge Israel's right to exist, fueled by Muslim hatred around the globe, and people start believing, that Israel is committing genocide. Instead of helping Israel, they stumbled Israel. They functioned as an obstacle in Israel's way to get rid of Hamas. And they encouraged Hamas, and they gave Hamas a lifeline When Hamas looked at the global outrage, they start to believe that they are winning. This is how we got here. So we must find a solution to this problem. We cannot allow this refugee camp that was supposed to be dismantled 70 years ago to continue forever. And if Gaza to be rebuilt, it must be rebuilt, but not by the standards of Middle Easterners, not by the standards of Palestinians. Palestinians don't know how to build. Palestinians don't know how to give. All they know how to just receive, how to take donations, where the corrupt leadership takes all the money, all the aid, and the people will continue to be in poverty and despair. This is the game. The equation, blood for money. This is what it is. Whenever they run out of funds, they start sacrificing civilians by putting them in harm's way, by weaponizing them for global pity. This is the entire Palestinian game. This type of people who I cannot trust with their own children. How can I trust them with statehood? Then, Europe came to the picture and they rewarded Palestinians. Even though they don't have a legitimate leadership, they don't agree on one agenda, they don't have constitution, they don't have a moral compass, they cannot be trusted with their own children. And Western leaders, they just came and said, okay, we recognize a Palestinian state. What does that even mean? You recognize a Palestinian state, you're basically legitimizing Palestinian barbarism. And in the meantime, delegitimizing the only democracy in the Middle East.
Yep.
How in the world this is going to solve the Middle East problem and end the war, I don't understand.
But watch them, and they already are trying to take credit for what they see now as a major peace deal, thinking they have contributed. It's ridiculous. A couple of points on what was just a brilliant 3 or 4 minutes from you. You were so right regarding Donald Trump. Not everyone can win in this deal, and if you try and make everyone a winner, everyone will lose. Not everyone can win. You're spot on with that. I want to ask you, the West Bank, when Gazans came in, started to attack, rape, loot, thievery, everything else. You didn't then want them there. Your people didn't want them there. How was there no outcry about your welfare? Why were they not protesting on the streets when that was happening to you? And I know the answer.
Well, it's basically it's hypocrisy and a Jewish hatred. What people don't want to admit, and this is why from the beginning I said that the Muslims need to back off, but they didn't. Instead of calling Hamas out and say this does not represent us, what you did, they did the opposite. Why? Yeah. Because it was against Jews. Because it was against Jews, then so many people came to join the crowd. Herd mentality. If somebody's saying genocide, everybody start bleating genocide, even though there is no intent of Israel to wipe out Palestinians. If Israel had the intention to wipe out Palestinians, they had the opportunity for 70 years to do that. But we have 2 million Arabs in Israel. We have 3 million Palestinians in the West Bank and 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. And Israel did everything within their ability to help them govern. But they failed miserably. Mahmoud Abbas and the Palestinian Authority failed their task. And Hamas took over Gaza. And for 17 years, they have been controlling the Strip. So who takes responsibility for that failure? It wasn't Israel. Mahmoud Abbas had obligation, the Palestinian Authority, according to Oslo peace agreement. They signed an agreement, and it was Israel's security was priority number one as a mean towards peace. But they failed. Mahmoud Abbas failed Israel. Then he hid in the grass, just like a snake, waiting for the moment to exploit Gaza tragedy. And European leaders gave him recognition as the moderate alternative to Hamas. Well, he's not. He's a total failure. If it wasn't for him, Hamas wouldn't be there. If it wasn't for his corruption, Hamas wouldn't even come to power. So, of course, the world is driven by very strong emotions, and people don't want to see people dying on the social media. This is the first war, that the entire world had to see on the social media, live streamed from day one. And this is what Hamas understood. And this is what the Iranian intelligence understood. And this is what's even behind them, including Russia and China. They understood that the West could not handle the bloodshed, especially on social media. And look at the division they created. So for them, they succeeded in a big way in delegitimizing Israel, demoralizing the West, and now politicians have been bending.
Yeah.
They are all compromising. We came to the point where we had to negotiate with savages. Yeah, I'm very happy about the release of the hostages, for example, but nobody's paying attention that we had to release thousands of mass murderers in return.
Appalling people. Yeah.
How could this lead to peace? How could this be the foundation of a lasting peace in the Middle East? I don't think so. So they can lie to themselves, and they may achieve ceasefire for a while, even though I don't think it would hold. I don't think so. And if it does, it's eventually the truth is going to remind everybody of the mistakes. October 7, take for example, and I'm sorry for the long answer.
No.
October 7 was the outcome, actually, of Oslo peace agreement.
Yeah.
That was basically the payday. And where are the leaders who signed the Oslo agreement? They are all gone. And we are in the same position right now. They will sign the agreements, then the generations to come will have to pay the price, and nobody would be able even to trace the origins of any disaster that could happen in the future. The same way on October 7, nobody was able to see it for what it is.
No, you're right. People who do these things that actually don't mean a thing are never held to account for the tragedy that ensues with all of it. It's the same story everywhere. I know your light is running out. I want two quick ones. Qatar having a military base in the US, is that a good idea? What could possibly go wrong?
Look, I really don't like the entire alliance between the United States and Qatar. People who sex traffic, buy and sell women in their villa basements in Doha like cattle should not be an ally of the United States. I don't want to say their funding of Al Jazeera propaganda, their funding of terrorism, their financial jihad, and their Muslim Brotherhood ideology. Let's put all this on the side. For the Americans to just try to understand it in a simple way, how can we shake the hands of people who buy and sell women like cattle? It's for me, it's not acceptable as an American, as a human being. And if to measure any society or to value any society, I value it in the way they treat women. This is why I have a fundamental problem with the Palestinians. Barbarism is not only about carrying a terrorist attack and beheading people and raping. It's about how a society treats women. And to me, to be honest with you, there is no difference between Palestinians, Egyptians, Saudi Arabians, even the UAE, that everybody swears by their name and say, Dubai, Dubai. I tell them they import women, they buy women. This is prostitution. What really matters, how do they treat their women that bore their children? This is what really matters. And when a society cancel women and humiliate women and treat them as a property, what's the outcome? It's a barbaric society. It's a society without any sense of creativity. This is the creative energy of any society, of the universe, feminine energy. This is the universal design. Nobody can cancel that. And to tell me that Qatar right now, after all the crimes and the corruption, it's a country of 2.8 million people with such great influence. And I know that the American government has the biggest base in Qatar. And this is a strategic alliance. But why don't we change that reality? And of course, the attraction when they contribute to the exhausted American economy, $1 trillion or $1.2 trillion, this is a big, fat temptation right there. But what did we pay in return? And who actually is going to pay? At what cost? Yeah.
Last thing, those watching and listening will know that your father was one of the founders of Hamas, and which is what makes what you do so incredible. You put this up online, and I wanted to read it and get your reaction to it, and I want to share it with my listeners and my viewers. I've maybe forgiven you, and this is aimed at your father. I've maybe forgiven you for handing me to the Lord of Death to save your face. That's between us. But the bloodshed, the screams of October 7 victims, and Gaza's children crushed, shattered under rubble, that's not mine to forgive. Wow.
Look, it's very, very difficult situation for me. And as I said, my forgiveness to my father after saving his life multiple times, and this is what people don't understand, and they just go on accusing me, and they think they don't understand the complex situation. I saved my father's life many, many times, and I sacrificed my life actually so he could live. And after he disowned me, and I just was left with nothing, and I went into the unknown. And when I said the Lord of Death, I meant what I said. This is what it has been, and I lived with it, and I'm okay with that. And I took it as my punishment for saving human lives, for saving my father's life, and for saving many innocent people's lives. And I was like, okay, if I get punished for saving human lives, then be it. And I accepted my fate. And I lived like this for almost 15 years, all the way up to October 7. And up to that point, I had a great respect for my father. I would never speak about him, anything bad, because actually I loved him. And I did not have a problem with him. Now, after watching the massacre on October 7, I could not forgive his involvement with Hamas. I could not forgive his cowardice to stay with such a barbaric group, and his hypocrisy that he's incapable of doing the things that Hamas did on October 7. But on the other hand, he's given them legitimacy. He's given them cover. He's justifying their work. And this was the moment where something deep inside my heart got disconnected. This is why on the second anniversary of October 7, I wanted to remind him that the personal stuff, this is between you and I. I did not mind to die for his sake. I did not mind to just be shunned completely so he could live, so my siblings could live. I did not have a problem with that. But when it came to October 7 attacks, this is not up to me to forgive him. Simple as that.
You are an incredible man, Mosab Assan. Thank you. No words to actually do justice to what you do and what you fight for. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much.
It's impossible to fathom his situation, isn't it? Absolutely impossible. And I hope to God he is wrong. But I'm almost certain he is not.